cuffs clicked shut around my wrists with a sound like a lock tumbling into place. Cold metal, rough edges, the kind of thing you feel in your bones before you feel it on your skin. I'd seen handcuffs before, sure, on TV, in movies. Never thought I'd feel them digging into the tendons of my own wrists while my daughter watched from 10 feet away with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Lydia stood there in the intake hallway of the county holding facility, arms crossed, her expression somewhere between concern and satisfaction. She'd dressed for the occasion, navy blazer, cream blouse, the kind of outfit that said, responsible adult handling a difficult situation. Her husband Ethan stood beside her, one hand resting on her shoulder like they were posing for a campaign photo. He wore a charcoal suit, crisp white shirt, no tie. Casual authority, the kind of guy who'd shake your hand and you'd only realize he'd stolen your watch 3 hours later. "We're really sorry it came to this, Dean," Ethan said, his voice smooth as motor oil. "But we're just trying to protect everyone involved." Protect? That was the word he used, like I was a live grenade. I didn't say anything. Couldn't trust my voice not to crack or explode, and either one would have given them what they wanted. So I kept my mouth shut and watched Lydia's face, looking for something, some flicker of the little girl who used to sit on my shoulders at the 4th of July parade, the kid who cried when her hamster died and made me promise we'd give it a proper burial in the backyard. Nothing, just that smooth, practiced concern. "The officers will take good care of you tonight," Lydia said. Her tone was gentle, patronizing, the voice you'd use on a confused elderly person. "And tomorrow we can talk about next steps." Next steps, like this was a business transaction. The officer to my left, a thick-necked guy with a buzz cut and permanent scowl, tugged at my elbow. "Let's go, sir." I let him guide me forward. Didn't resist. Didn't make a scene. Just walked, one foot in front of the other, while Lydia and Ethan stayed behind in the bright fluorescent hallway. I heard Lydia's voice drift after me, talking to someone on her phone. "Yeah, we're at the facility now. He's being processed." A pause. "No, it went exactly like we planned. Go to the garage first, not the house." My stomach dropped. The garage. Not my home. Not the spare bedroom where I kept old photo albums and my father's tools. The garage. The one place I'd told Naomi to keep locked. The place where I kept the folder. The real one. Property deeds, business equity paperwork, the stuff that mattered. The stuff that proved ownership. I forced myself to keep walking. Forced my face to stay blank. The officer didn't notice. Why would he? I was just another tired old man getting booked on some bullshit wellness check call. Happened every week in this town. Family members calling in concerns about aging parents. Cops showing up, seeing nothing wrong, but taking someone in anyway because the paperwork said potential threat to self or others. Potential. That word could mean anything. They led me through a series of doors, each one slamming shut behind me with a metallic clang that rattled my teeth. Intake processing, fingerprints, mugshot, personal effects inventory. I watched them bag my wallet, my keys, my phone. The officer held up my wedding ring. "This stays on," I said. He looked at me, then at the ring, plain gold band, 42 years old, worn smooth. He shrugged. "Fine. The other one comes off." The other one, my right hand. The ring I'd worn for 30 years, the one most people never noticed because it wasn't flashy. Just a simple band with a small engraved symbol on the inside. A shield with 3 stars, nothing fancy. But it meant something to people who knew. "It's just a ring," I said. "Regulations," the officer said. "No jewelry except wedding bands." I started to twist it off, slow, letting him see it was just a regular ring. But before I could get it past my knuckle, a voice cut through the intake room. "Hold on." We all turned. A man stood in the doorway, tall and lean, late 50s, with salt and pepper hair cut military short. He wore a dark gray uniform with a badge that read Warden Holt. His face was all angles and hard lines, the kind of face that had seen too much and stopped being surprised by any of it. He walked toward me, his eyes fixed on my right hand, on the ring. His expression didn't change, but something shifted in his posture. A slight stiffening. Recognition. "Let him keep it," Holt said. The intake officer frowned. "Sir, regulations say—" "I know what the regulations say." Holt's voice was quiet, but it cut like a blade. "Let him keep it." The officer hesitated, then nodded. He made a note on his clipboard and waved me forward. Holt stepped aside, but his eyes never left my face. He didn't say anything else. Didn't need to. That look told me everything. He knew what the ring meant. They put me in a holding cell at the end of a long corridor. Concrete floor, metal bench, a toilet in the corner that smelled like industrial cleaner and human misery. The door clanged shut, and I sat down on the bench, my legs suddenly heavy. I'd been on my feet for 14 hours. Long day at the garage, working on a transmission rebuild. Then Naomi and I were supposed to grab dinner at the diner. But Lydia called, said she needed to talk. Important family matter. Could I meet her at the house? Stupid. I should have known. I arrived at my own house, the one Naomi and I had paid off 15 years ago, and found 2 patrol cars in the driveway. Lydia standing on the porch with Ethan, both of them looking worried and sad. She told the officers I'd been acting erratic, threatening, making comments about hurting myself. All lies. But I couldn't prove it. Not right then. And when you're 68 years old and your own daughter is standing there crying, telling the cops you're not safe, the cops believe her. So here I was. I leaned back against the cold concrete wall and closed my eyes. Thought about Naomi. She'd be getting my voicemail by now, wondering why I wasn't answering. She'd figure it out eventually. Naomi always figured things out. That's what 42 years of marriage did. You learned to read each other's silences. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. I opened my eyes. Warden Holt stood outside my cell, hands clasped behind his back, looking at me through the bars. "Dean," he said. Not sir or inmate, or whatever the official term was. Just my name. "Warden." He glanced down the corridor, then back at me. "You still the same guy who wrote people up back in the day?" I blinked. "Excuse me?" "State Oversight Committee, 2009 through 2014. You sat on the board that inspected facilities like this one." He tapped the bars with one knuckle. "I was assistant warden at the time. You came through twice. Once in 2011, once in 2013. Both times you found issues. Both times you filed reports." Memory clicked into place. I'd served on that committee for 6 years. Unpaid volunteer work, going through correctional facilities and detention centers and making sure they met state standards. It wasn't glamorous. Mostly checking paperwork, interviewing staff, looking at maintenance logs. But it mattered. And yeah, I'd filed reports when things didn't add up. "I remember," I said. Holt nodded slowly. "You recommended disciplinary action for 3 staff members in 2013. One of them was my direct supervisor. He got demoted, lost his pension bump." He paused. "He was corrupt, taking kickbacks from vendors. You were right to report it." I didn't say anything, didn't know where this was going. "I'm telling you this," Holt continued, "because you need to understand something. The booking narrative tonight? It was gift-wrapped, prepackaged. Your daughter and her husband didn't just call in a wellness check. They provided documentation, statements, emails. They built a case." My jaw tightened. "A case for what?" "For getting you out of the way." Holt's eyes were flat, hard. "Just for tonight. Just long enough." "Long enough for what?" "That's not my business." He shifted his weight. "But I'm telling you this because of that ring, because you're not some random guy off the street. You're someone who used to hold people accountable. And tonight..." He trailed off, then leaned closer to the bars. "Tonight you learn who actually runs this place." Before I could respond, he turned and walked away, his footsteps fading into the distance. I sat there, my mind racing. They built a case. Of course they did. Lydia wasn't stupid. She'd been planning this. That's why she'd been so sweet lately, so concerned, asking about my health, my memory, whether I was sleeping okay. I thought she was finally acting like a daughter again. But she was building a narrative, gathering ammunition, and Ethan. That smooth-talking parasite. He'd probably coached her through every step. I thought about the garage, about the folder. It wasn't just property deeds. It was everything. The business equity paperwork from the auto shop I'd built from nothing, the trust documents Naomi and I had set up years ago, the beneficiary forms, everything that proved I still owned my own life. If they got their hands on that folder, they could start the process. Power of attorney filings, guardianship petitions, the legal machinery that could strip an old man of his autonomy and hand everything over to his concerned family. I clenched my fists, felt the ring press against my palm. Holt knew. He'd recognized the symbol, the shield with 3 stars. It wasn't a secret society or some mystical bullshit. It was just a marker, a way for people in the system to recognize each other. Oversight committee members, union reps, state mediators, people who'd spent years navigating bureaucracy and holding others accountable. And Holt had just told me something crucial. This booking was convenient for someone. I stood up and paced the small cell. 5 steps one way, 5 steps back. My mind churned through possibilities. Lydia and Ethan were at the garage. Or maybe they'd already been there. Naomi wouldn't have let them in, but Naomi might not be home. She had her book club tonight, Thursday nights, 7 to 9, at the library, which meant the house was empty, which meant they could. The sound of a phone ringing cut through my thoughts. Not my phone. That was in a plastic bag somewhere in the evidence room. This was coming from down the corridor. Footsteps approached. The intake officer appeared, holding a desk phone with a long cord. He plugged it into a jack outside my cell, then passed the handset through the bars. "You get one call," he said. 5 minutes. I took the phone, my hands shaking slightly. Dialed Naomi's number from memory. It rang twice. "Hello?" Her voice, calm, steady, the sound of home. "It's me," I said. "Dean." Not a question, not surprise, just acknowledgement. "Where are you?" "County holding. Long story." "Lydia called me an hour ago," Naomi said. "Told me you'd been taken in for evaluation. Said you'd been acting unstable. It's a setup." "I know." Her voice was flat, matter of fact. "I saw the location ping on your phone before they turned it off, and Mrs. Patterson next door texted me. Said she saw someone at the garage." My stomach lurched. "Who?" She didn't recognize them, but they had a key. A key, which meant Lydia had made a copy, probably weeks ago. "Naomi?" "I'm handling it," she said, and I heard something in her tone that made me pause. Not panic, not fear, strategy. "I called Jules. She's already drafting emergency motions, and I moved the folder." I blinked. "What?" 3 days ago, I moved the folder to the safe deposit box." She paused. "I left a decoy in the garage. Old tax returns, expired insurance policies, nothing important." I almost laughed. Almost. "You knew." "I suspected." Her voice softened slightly. "Lydia's been too interested in our paperwork lately, asking about the trust, about beneficiaries. It felt wrong." I pressed my forehead against the cool metal bars. Naomi, my sharp, careful, always 3 steps ahead wife. "What do they think they're getting?" I asked. "Control." She said it simply. "They want to prove you're incompetent, file for guardianship, take over your assets, sell the garage, liquidate the accounts, put you in a care facility." I'm 68, not 90. "Doesn't matter. If they can prove cognitive decline, erratic behavior, self-harm risk," she trailed off. "They can make a case. It's not a good case, but it's enough to tie things up in court for months, long enough to drain your accounts on legal fees, long enough to destroy your reputation." I closed my eyes. Reputation. In this town, that was everything. I'd built the garage from nothing, spent 40 years fixing cars, earning trust, becoming the guy people called when they needed help. If Lydia spread the story that I was losing my mind, that I was dangerous, that story would stick. "What's the play?" I asked. "We let them think they won," Naomi said. "Tonight they take the decoy. Tomorrow they'll try to use it. And when they do, we prove they broke into our property, stole documents, and fabricated a case. Jules is already pulling together the timeline. We'll have witnesses, timestamps, the works. And Lydia?" Naomi was silent for a moment. "That's your call." My call. My daughter. The kid I'd raised on peanut butter sandwiches and moral lectures. The one who used to ask me to check for monsters under her bed. "She made her choice," I said quietly. "Yes," Naomi agreed. "She did." The officer tapped his watch. 2 minutes left. "I need you to do something," I said. "Call Holt, the warden here. Tell him I need to speak with him." "Why?" "Because he recognized my ring. He knows what it means, and he just told me this booking was convenient for someone." I heard Naomi's sharp intake of breath. Inside help. Maybe, or just someone looking the other way. I shifted the phone to my other ear. "Either way, he's telling me something. I need to know what." "I'll call him," Naomi said. "And Dean?" "Yeah? Don't do anything stupid." I smiled despite everything. Never do. She hung up. I passed the phone back through the bars to the officer. He unplugged it and walked away without a word. I sat back down on the metal bench and stared at the wall, let my mind work through the pieces. Lydia and Ethan had orchestrated this. The timing was too perfect, the documentation too prepared. They'd been planning this for weeks, maybe months, building their case, gathering their evidence, waiting for the right moment. And tonight was that moment. Thursday night. Naomi at book club, me tired and off guard. The perfect time to make a move. But they'd underestimated Naomi. And they didn't know about the decoy. A sound echoed down the corridor. Voices, low and urgent. I stood up and moved to the bars, straining to hear. "Not my problem." That was Holt's voice. Explicit instructions. Another voice. Male, younger. I don't care about your instructions. You don't run this facility. Footsteps. Coming closer. I stepped back from the bars as Holt appeared, his face tight with controlled anger. Behind him, a younger officer I didn't recognize. Move him, the young officer said. Excuse me? Holt's voice was ice. Transfer him to the south wing. Isolation. On whose authority? The young officer hesitated. Protocol. Bullshit. Holt turned to face him fully. Who called you? No answer. Holt's jaw tightened. He glanced at me, then back at the officer. Get out of my corridor. The young officer opened his mouth, then closed it. He turned and walked away, his footsteps quick and angry. Holt watched him go, then looked at me through the bars. You've got friends outside this place, but you've also got enemies. And tonight, they're louder. Who? I asked. That's what you need to figure out. He pulled a key ring from his belt and unlocked my cell door. You're being moved, not isolation, quieter cell, fewer eyes. Why? Because if something happens to you tonight, I don't want it happening in my corridor. He swung the door open. Come on. I followed him down a different hallway, away from the main intake area. The lights were dimmer here, the walls older. He stopped at a cell near the end and unlocked it. This one's off the main log, he said. Technically it's for overflow, but we haven't had overflow in 6 months. I stepped inside. Same concrete, same metal bench, but this one had a small window near the ceiling. Frosted glass, but I could see the faint glow of streetlights outside. Why are you helping me? I asked. Holt leaned against the doorframe. You remember the report you filed in 2013? About your supervisor. He was stealing more than kickbacks, Holt said quietly. He was selling information, inmate records, personal data, to people who paid, and when you reported him, when you pushed for an investigation, you stopped it. You saved this facility from turning into something worse. I didn't know what to say. I owe you, Holt continued. But more than that, I owe the truth. He glanced down the corridor, then back at me. Your booking tonight was flagged. Priority processing. Expedited transfer request. That doesn't happen unless someone with pull makes a call. Who made the call? I don't know, but I know the request came from outside the department, county level, maybe higher. Someone in government? Or someone connected to government? Holt pushed off the doorframe. Your son-in-law, Ethan. What's his profession? Consultant, I said. Business development. Works with local companies, helps them expand. Which companies? I thought back. Development firms, real estate. He just landed a contract with that new shopping complex going up on Route 9. Holt nodded slowly. Route 9, that's the Henderson project. Big money. County contracts, state grants, private investors. He paused. And your garage sits on how much land? My heart stopped. The garage. I owned the building and the lot. 2 acres, right on the main road, half a mile from Route 9. Prime location. He's not after your property, I said slowly. He's after the land. And the easiest way to get it, Holt said, is to have you declared incompetent. Get guardianship. Sell it off before you can fight back. I felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. This wasn't just family betrayal. This was business. Ethan had seen an opportunity and used my own daughter to get it. You've got until morning, Holt said. After that, the paperwork kicks in. They'll move you for evaluation, and once you're in the system, he shook his head. It's harder to get out. I need another call. You already used your one. I need another call, I repeated. Holt studied my face for a long moment. Then he pulled out his personal cell phone and handed it through the bars. 5 minutes, and if anyone asks, you stole this. I took the phone and dialed Naomi again. She answered on the first ring. Dean? It's bigger than we thought, I said. And I told her everything Holt had just told me. The land, the development project, the connections. Naomi was silent for a long moment. Then, that's why he married her. What? Ethan. He's been with Lydia for 3 years. They got married 18 months ago, and 6 months ago, he started asking about the garage, about your plans for retirement, about whether you'd ever consider selling. I remembered those conversations. Casual questions over Sunday dinner. I'd laughed them off. Told him the garage was my life's work. I'd never sell. He played the long game, Naomi said quietly. He married her to get access, and now he's cashing out. I gripped the phone tighter. Can Jules stop this? She's working on it. But Dean, if this goes to court, it's going to get ugly. Really ugly. Lydia will have to testify. And if she's in this deep, Naomi's voice cracked slightly. She'll lie, on the stand. She'll say whatever Ethan tells her to say. I closed my eyes, saw Lydia's face in the intake hallway. That smooth, practiced concern. The way she'd looked at me like I was a problem to be solved. Let her, I said. Dean, let her lie. Let them take the decoy. Let them think they're winning. I opened my eyes. And tomorrow, we burn them down. Naomi was quiet. Then, what do you need? Contact Jules. Tell her to file emergency protective orders. For the garage, the house, the accounts, everything. And tell her to request body cam footage from tonight's arrest. I want to see exactly what Lydia told those cops. Done. What else? Call Holt's office tomorrow. Tell him I need a statement about the booking irregularities. He's already suspicious. He'll cooperate. And Lydia? I thought about my daughter, the way she used to fall asleep on my chest when she was a baby, the way she'd hugged me at her college graduation, tears streaming down her face, saying she couldn't have done it without me. She chose this, I said. She chose him over us, over everything we taught her, so we let her live with that choice. Okay, Naomi said softly. I love you. I love you too. I hung up and handed the phone back through the bars. Holt pocketed it without a word. You've got a plan, he said. Not a question. I've got a plan. He nodded. Good. Because tomorrow morning, someone's going to ask questions about why you weren't moved to isolation, and I'm going to need a good reason. Tell them I was cooperative. Model behavior. Holt smiled slightly. That'll work. He turned to leave, then paused. That ring. The one you're wearing. How many people know what it means? Not many. Maybe a few hundred across the state, all people who've worked in oversight or corrections or mediation. Does your son-in-law know? I thought about it. No, he's never asked, never even noticed. Then he made a mistake, Holt said. He thought you were just some old mechanic. He didn't know you used to hold people like him accountable. He walked away, leaving me alone in the dim cell. I sat down on the bench and stared at the frosted window. Somewhere out there, Lydia and Ethan were going through the decoy folder, reading old tax returns, getting excited about paperwork that meant nothing. Tomorrow they'd try to use it, try to file their motions, start their case. And tomorrow we'd prove they broke into private property, stole documents, fabricated evidence. Tomorrow we'd show the whole town exactly who they were. I twisted the ring on my right hand, felt the weight of it. The shield with 3 stars, a reminder of the years I'd spent making sure people followed the rules, making sure the system worked the way it was supposed to. Lydia thought I was just her old man, helpless, easy to manipulate. She was about to learn different. I leaned back against the wall and closed my eyes. Let myself rest. Tomorrow was going to be a long day. But tonight, in this quiet cell, I let myself feel something cold and certain settle into my bones. They'd made a mistake, and I was going to make them pay for it. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. The metal bench was too hard, the air too cold, and my mind wouldn't stop churning. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lydia's face in that hallway, that practiced concern, and my stomach twisted. Around 3 a.m, footsteps echoed down the corridor again. I sat up, instantly alert. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in harsh white light. A guard appeared, not the thick-necked intake officer from earlier. This one was older, gray-haired, with the kind of weathered face that came from 30 years of night shifts. You Dean? He asked. Yeah. He unlocked the cell door. Warden wants to see you. I stood slowly, my back protesting. 68-year-old bodies weren't made for metal benches. The guard led me down the corridor, past empty cells, to a small office at the end. The door was open. Inside, Warden Holt sat behind a battered desk, a coffee mug steaming in front of him. Sit, he said, gesturing to a plastic chair. I sat. The guard closed the door and stationed himself outside. Holt studied me for a moment, then pushed the coffee mug across the desk. You look like you need this more than I do. I wrapped my hands around the mug. The heat felt good. Thanks. Your wife called, Holt said. Twice. Once at midnight, once at 2. She's persistent. That's one word for it. He smiled slightly. She asked about the booking procedure, about the officers who brought you in, about the documentation your daughter provided. He leaned back in his chair. She's smart. She's building a case. That's what she does. What does she do? Professionally? Retired teacher, I said. English, 35 years. but she spent the last 10 running the local literacy program, writing grants, navigating bureaucracy. I took a sip of coffee. Black, strong, exactly what I needed. She knows how systems work. Holt nodded slowly. Good, because what's happening to you right now, it's a system failure. And system failures only get fixed when people who understand systems push back. I set the mug down. You said the booking was flagged, priority processing. Yeah. Who flagged it? Holt was quiet for a moment. Then he opened a drawer in his desk and pulled out a folder. He flipped it open, studied the top page, then turned it toward me. It was my booking sheet, standard form, filled out in neat handwriting. But at the top, stamped in red ink, Expedite, County Rec. County request, I said. Doesn't say who in the county, just that it came from the county level, which means someone called the sheriff's office directly. Not 911, not dispatch, direct call. Someone with pull. Exactly. Holt tapped the form. And look at the timestamp. The call came in at 5:47 p.m. But the actual incident, the wellness check at your house, that didn't happen until 6:30. I stared at the paper. The call came first. Yeah. Someone called the sheriff's office and said, "We're going to need a pickup tonight. Be ready." Holt closed the folder. That's not how wellness checks work. Those are reactive. Someone calls in a concern, officers respond. But this was premeditated. My hands tightened around the coffee mug. Ethan made the call. Maybe, or someone connected to Ethan. Holt leaned forward. Your wife mentioned a development project. Route 9. Big money involved. How big? 100 million, maybe more. Shopping complex, luxury condos, the works. And your garage sits on prime land for that project. 2 acres, main road access, walking distance from the planned development. Holt whistled low. So, let's say you don't want to sell. You're the old mechanic, stubborn, sentimental about your business. You're the obstacle. And if I'm declared incompetent, your daughter gets guardianship, sells the land. You're in a care facility by the time the paperwork clears. I felt sick. How much would they make? On 2 acres near a major development? Couple million? Easy? Holt sat back. More than enough to set up your daughter and her husband for life. More than enough to make her turn on you. I thought about Lydia, about the way she'd changed over the past year. Subtle things, the designer clothes, the new car, the expensive dinners. I'd thought Ethan's consulting business was doing well, but now I wondered if they'd been spending money they didn't have yet, money they expected to get, money from selling my land. There's something else, Holt said. He pulled out another sheet of paper. I made some calls, checked with a buddy of mine in the county clerk's office. Ethan filed a business entity 6 months ago, real estate holding company. So? So the entity lists your garage property as a future asset. I blinked. How is that legal? It's not. Not technically, but it's a marker, a signal to investors that he's got a deal in the works, that he's about to acquire prime land. Before I agreed to sell. Before you even knew he wanted to buy. Holt slid the paper across the desk. He was counting on you not finding out, counting on being able to push you out before you realized what was happening. I stared at the document. Ethan's name in black ink, my garage address listed under projected acquisitions. He's been planning this for months, I said quietly. At least. Holt gathered the papers back into the folder. And your daughter's been helping him? Whether she knows the full extent or not, she's complicit. I thought about Lydia in the hallway, the way she'd looked at me, not sad, not conflicted, satisfied. She knows, I said. Holt didn't argue. We sat in silence for a moment. Then I asked, what happens at 7 a.m.? Transfer van arrives. You're supposed to be moved to county psych evaluation, standard 72-hour hold for wellness check cases. And if I'm moved? Then you're in the system, and getting out takes time, days, maybe weeks. Long enough for your daughter to file her paperwork, long enough for them to start the process. Can you delay the transfer? Holt shook his head. Not without cause. And even if I tried, someone would ask questions, someone would push back. Because someone wants me in that van. Yeah. I gripped the coffee mug tighter, felt the heat seeping into my palms. Then I need to be released before 7 a.m. On what grounds? No grounds, just a release. The wellness check was bogus. No evidence of threat, no cause to hold me. I'd need a statement from the responding officers, and they're going to back your daughter's story. What about body cam footage? Holt paused. What about it? Every officer wears a body cam now. State mandate. That footage shows what really happened at my house, what Lydia actually said, whether I was actually acting erratic. Body cam footage is locked, protected evidence. But it exists. Yeah, it exists. I leaned forward. Then my lawyer requests it. First thing tomorrow morning, emergency motion, and while we're waiting for it to be reviewed, I can't be transferred, right? Holt considered this. That's a stretch, but possible. Maybe, if your lawyer moves fast. I stood up. Can I use your phone again? Holt hesitated, then handed me his cell. I dialed Naomi's number. She answered immediately. Dean? It's me. I need you to call Jules right now. Tell her to file an emergency motion at 6 a.m. when the courthouse opens. Request body cam footage from last night's arrest. Tell her to cite due process, unlawful detention, whatever legal language works. Just get that footage flagged as evidence. Why? Because it'll force a hold on my transfer. They can't move me to psych eval while evidence is being reviewed. I heard Naomi take a sharp breath. That's smart. That's survival. Can Jules do it? I'll call her now. And Naomi, tell her to copy Holt on everything. He's the warden here. He needs to be in the loop. Done? Anything else? I thought for a moment. Yeah. Check the decoy folder. See if they took it. How? Call Mrs. Patterson. Ask her to look through the garage window. She's nosy enough to do it. Naomi almost laughed. Okay, I love you. I love you too. I hung up and handed the phone back to Holt. My lawyer's filing an emergency motion at 6 a.m., requesting body cam footage. Once that's in the system, can you delay my transfer? Holt thought about it. I can cite pending legal review. Buy you a few hours. A few hours is all I need. He studied my face. You've done this before. Navigated the system. 6 years on the oversight committee. I learned how to work the angles. Most people in your situation would panic. Shut down. Most people don't have a wife like Naomi. I sat back down. And most people haven't spent decades watching how power actually works in places like this. Holt nodded slowly. The ring. That's not just decoration, is it? No, it's a reminder that I used to hold people accountable, that I know how the system works, and that I'm not as helpless as I look. Your daughter doesn't know that. No, I said quietly. She doesn't. We sat in silence. Outside, through the narrow window, I could see the sky starting to lighten. Not sunrise yet, but that pale gray that comes before dawn. Can I ask you something? Holt said. Sure. Why didn't you just sell the garage? Take the money, retire, live easy? I thought about that. About the garage, the place I'd built from nothing, the cars I'd fixed, the people I'd helped, the reputation I'd earned. Because it's mine, I said simply. I built it with my own hands, and no one gets to take it from me just because they want it. Holt smiled slightly. Stubborn. Damn right. He stood up and opened the door. The gray-haired guard was still there, waiting. Take him back to his cell, and make sure no one bothers him until I say so. The guard nodded and led me back down the corridor, back to the quiet cell at the end, the one that was off the main log. I sat down on the metal bench and waited. 5 a.m. came and went. No footsteps, no voices, just silence. At 5:45, my hands started shaking, not fear, adrenaline, the knowledge that in 15 minutes, Jules would file her motion, and everything would start moving. At 6:03, footsteps echoed down the corridor. Fast, urgent. I stood up. The thick-necked intake officer appeared, breathing hard. You're supposed to be in transit. I'm waiting for my lawyer. Your lawyer? He looked confused. You didn't request a lawyer. My wife did. Emergency motion filed 20 minutes ago. His face went red. That's not how this works. Actually, Holt's voice cut in from behind him. That's exactly how it works. The warden appeared, holding a printout. Emergency motion filed at 6:02 a.m. Request for body cam footage review, citing potential due process violations. Until that review is complete, this detainee cannot be transferred. The intake officer sputtered. But the van. We'll have to come back another day. Holt handed him the printout. Call your supervisor, explain the situation, and tell them if they have questions, they can call me directly. The officer grabbed the paper and stormed off, his boots echoing down the corridor. Holt looked at me through the bars. Your lawyer works fast. She's motivated. The motion's solid. Cites about 6 different legal precedents. This'll buy you until at least noon. And then? And then we'll see. He unlocked the cell door. Come on, you're being processed out. I followed him back through the maze of corridors, back to the intake area. The same desk, the same plastic bins, my wallet, my keys, My phone. I powered on my phone. 17 missed calls. 12 from Naomi, 5 from a number I didn't recognize. Saturday morning, I woke to 73 missed calls. Most were from numbers I didn't recognize, but 5 were from Ethan. I ignored them all and got dressed. Naomi was already up, sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop, scrolling through Facebook. "Your post has been shared 400 times, she said. "Half the town is talking about it." I poured coffee. "Good." Lydia posted a response. Says you're confused, that she's trying to help you. Let me guess, lots of concerned emojis. And a picture of you two from her college graduation. The caption says, "I love my father and only want what's best for him." I looked over her shoulder at the screen. The photo showed Lydia in her cap and gown, me standing beside her with my arm around her shoulders. Both of us smiling. That was 15 years ago. Different lifetime. "How many shares?" I asked. 70. "So I'm winning the social media war." Naomi almost smiled. "For now?" My phone rang. Jules. "Have you seen the news?" she asked. "What news?" "Local paper, online edition, front page." I opened the browser on my phone and navigated to the town's newspaper website. The headline made my stomach drop. Local business owner claims daughter attempting illegal seizure of property. Below it, a photo of me standing in front of the garage. "They interviewed me?" I said. "No, they pulled the photo from your garage website, and they quoted your Facebook post." Jules sounded amused. "You're making waves, Dean. Is that good or bad?" "For Monday's hearing? Good. Public pressure matters. Judges read the news, and if the story is greedy daughter tries to steal from loving father, that's better than concerned daughter seeks help for declining parent. What about Lydia and Ethan? What are they doing?" "Damage control. Ethan called the paper this morning, tried to get them to retract the story. They refused. He's threatening legal action." I felt a grim satisfaction. Let him try. "There's more," Jules said. "I got a call from Warden Holt. He traced the phone number from the county request." My heart rate picked up. "And?" "It's a burner phone, purchased at a convenience store 6 weeks ago. Cash transaction. No name on file." "Damn." "But," Jules continued, "the store has security cameras. Holt's working on getting the footage. If we can identify who bought that phone, we can prove premeditation." "How long will that take?" "Days, maybe a week, but we'll get it." "What about the medical evaluation? The doctor who signed it?" "Still working on that. His office claims he's out of town, won't be back until Monday." "Convenient." "Very." Jules paused. "Dean, I need to ask you something. Are you prepared for Monday's hearing to get nasty?" "How nasty?" "They're going to attack your character, your mental state, your ability to manage your own affairs. They're going to paint you as confused, volatile, potentially dangerous. Based on lies. Based on carefully constructed testimony. Lydia will take the stand. So will Ethan. So will their witnesses. And they'll all say the same thing, that you've been declining for months, that they're scared for you, that they're only trying to help." I gripped the phone tighter. "And our counter?" "We prove they're lying. We show the timeline. We show the business entity. We show the theft. We show the booking irregularities. We make it clear this isn't about your health, it's about your property." "Will that be enough?" "I don't know," Jules said honestly. "Emergency guardianship hearings are designed to act fast, to protect vulnerable people. The judge will be cautious. If there's any doubt about your capacity, they might grant temporary guardianship just to be safe." "And then what?" "Then you'd have 30 days to fight it. 30 days where Lydia has legal authority over your assets. 30 days. Long enough to sell the garage, long enough to drain the accounts." "That can't happen," I said. "Then we need to make damn sure you're sharp on Monday. No mistakes, no outbursts. You need to be calm, rational, completely in control." "I can do that." "I hope so. Because if you lose your temper, if you seem even slightly unstable, we lose." I hung up and looked at Naomi. "Monday's going to be bad." "I know." "They're going to lie. About me, about my mental state, about everything." "I know," she said again. Then she stood up and came to me, put her hands on my shoulders. "But we're going to beat them, because we have something they don't." "What's that?" "The truth, and witnesses who'll tell it." She squeezed my shoulders. "I've been making calls, talking to people. Customers from the garage, neighbors, friends. They're willing to testify." "About what?" "About how sharp you are, how you fixed their cars last week, how you helped them with their taxes, how you organized the neighborhood watch meeting last month." She smiled slightly. You're not some confused old man, Dean. You're the guy everyone calls when they need help, and people remember that. I felt something loosen in my chest. How many witnesses? So far, 8, and more keep calling. 8 people willing to stand up in court and say I was competent, capable, not the declining old man Lydia wanted to portray. That might be enough, I said. It will be enough. Naomi kissed my forehead. Now come on, we've got work to do. We spent Saturday preparing, going through every detail of the case with Jules on conference calls, organizing documents, rehearsing testimony, building our defense. At 3 p.m., there was a knock at the front door. I looked through the peephole. A man I didn't recognize. Tall, thin, wearing a cheap suit and holding a clipboard. Can I help you? I called through the door. Process server, I have documents for Dean. I opened the door and took the envelope. The man had me sign for it, then left without another word. Inside, notice of the Monday hearing, Lydia's formal petition for emergency guardianship, and a psychological evaluation report from Dr. Richard Brennan, the doctor who'd supposedly examined me. I read the evaluation slowly. It was detailed, specific, listed incidents of confusion, memory loss, erratic behavior, all dated over the past 6 months, all completely false. He never examined me, I said. Naomi read over my shoulder. Can we prove that? I don't know, but we can ask. I called Jules again. The evaluation's bullshit, I said when she answered. I've never met this doctor. Can you prove it? I can prove I was never at his office. I can prove I never signed any intake forms. I can prove... That's circumstantial, Jules interrupted. He can claim he did a home visit, or that he observed you from a distance. Medical ethics are murky in these situations. So we can't use it against them? We can question it, cast doubt, but without hard proof he fabricated the report, it's tough. I felt frustration building. There has to be something. There is, Jules said. We attack his credibility. I've been doing research on Dr. Brennan. He's been involved in 3 other guardianship cases in the past 2 years, all of them questionable, all of them involving family members seeking control of assets. He's dirty. Maybe, or maybe he's just sloppy. Either way, we can use it. We can show a pattern. Make the judge question his judgment. Do it. Already on it. I'm subpoenaing his records for those other cases. If there are any similarities, any red flags, we'll find them. We hung up. I stood in the kitchen holding the evaluation report, feeling the weight of it. This piece of paper, full of lies, could destroy my life, unless we stopped it. At 6 p.m., my phone rang again. Private number, I answered. Hello? Heavy breathing, then a voice. Ethan. You're making this harder than it needs to be, he said. Am I? That Facebook post, the newspaper article. You're embarrassing, Lydia. You're embarrassing us. You're embarrassing yourselves. We were trying to help you, Ethan said. His voice was tight, controlled. Trying to make sure you were taken care of, but you're too stubborn to see it. I see it perfectly. You want my land. You need it for your development deal, and you're willing to destroy me to get it. Silence. Then, you don't know what you're talking about. Business entity filed 6 months ago. Contingent on acquisition of my property within 12 months. Investors expecting returns. You promised them something you don't have. More silence. Longer this time. You've been digging, Ethan said finally. I've been paying attention. Then you should know what happens when people stand in the way of progress. They get run over. Is that a threat? It's reality. His voice was colder now, harder. You're 68 years old. You're sitting on property worth millions. And you're going to lose it one way or another. You can lose it the easy way or the hard way. Your choice. I choose the hard way. Then you're a fool. I stood there, phone in hand, adrenaline coursing through me. Naomi appeared in the doorway. Who was that? Ethan, making threats. Did you record it? I checked my phone. No. Damn it. It's okay. We'll use it anyway. Testimony. You can describe the call in court. He'll deny it. Probably, but it adds to the pattern, shows his character. She came closer. Dean, we need to be careful. If Ethan's desperate enough to threaten you, he's desperate enough to do something stupid. I know. I mean it. We should stay somewhere else tonight. A hotel, somewhere he can't find us. I thought about it, about running, about letting fear dictate our actions. No, I said. This is our house. We're not leaving. Dean, if we run, we look scared. We look weak. And Monday morning, Lydia's lawyers will use that against us. I put my hands on her shoulders. We stay. We're visible. We're strong. And we make them blink first. Naomi studied my face for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay. But we lock every door, set the alarm, and if anything happens, we call 911 immediately. Deal. We spent the evening fortifying the house. Checked every window, every lock, set the alarm system, something we rarely used. I even dug out the old baseball bat from the garage and left it by the bed, just in case. At 11 p.m., I was lying in bed, wide awake, when headlights swept across the window. I sat up, listened. A car had pulled into our driveway. I got out of bed slowly, quietly, grabbed the bat, moved to the window and looked out. Ethan's car, parked in front of our garage. He got out, walked to the garage door, tried the handle, locked. He circled the building, checking the windows, looking for a way in. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Zoomed in on his face, clearly visible in the porch light. He tried the back door, also locked. Then he stood there for a moment, hands on his hips, looking at the building like it had personally offended him. Finally, he pulled something from his pocket. A crowbar. He was going to break in. I dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? Someone's trying to break into my garage. I'm at 47 Oak Street. I have him on video. Is the person still there? Yes. He's armed with a crowbar. Officers are en route. Stay inside. Do not confront the intruder. Understood. I kept recording. Watched Ethan wedge the crowbar into the door frame. Watched him pry at it, trying to force it open. The new lock held. He tried again. Harder this time. The wood splintered slightly, but the door stayed shut. Sirens in the distance. Getting closer. Ethan heard them. He froze, looked toward the street, then dropped the crowbar and ran to his car. He was pulling out of the driveway when the first patrol car arrived. Blue lights flashing, siren wailing. They blocked him in. I watched from the window as two officers got out, hands on their weapons, and approached Ethan's car. He got out slowly, hands raised. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could see the body language. The officers were questioning him. He was explaining something, gesturing toward the garage. One officer walked to the garage and examined the door, saw the splintered wood, the crowbar on the ground. The other officer put Ethan in handcuffs. I stopped recording and went downstairs. Naomi was already there, watching through the front window. He tried to break in, she said, and we got it on video. One of the officers knocked on our door. I opened it. Mr. Dean? The officer asked. That's me? You called about an attempted break-in? Yes. That man, Ethan, he's my son-in-law. He was trying to pry open my garage door with a crowbar. The officer made notes. Did you see what he was after? My property. We're in a legal dispute. He's been trying to access my business records. The officer looked at Ethan, who was standing by the patrol car, still cuffed. Does he have permission to be on your property? No, I explicitly told him to stay away. Do you want to press charges? I looked at Ethan, at my daughter's husband, the man who'd manipulated her, used her, turned her against us. Yes, I said. Attempted burglary, trespassing, property damage, whatever applies. The officer nodded. We'll take him in. You'll need to come to the station tomorrow to give a formal statement. I'll be there. They drove away with Ethan in the back seat. I watched the taillights disappear down the street. Naomi came up beside me. Well, she said, that was stupid of him. Very stupid. Think Lydia knows? Probably not. He wouldn't tell her. He was acting on his own. Desperate. And now he's in custody. Naomi almost smiled. That's going to look great at Monday's hearing. I looked at her, at my brilliant, strategic, always thinking wife. You planned this, I said. You knew he'd try something. I suspected. Men like Ethan don't handle being cornered well. They lash out, make mistakes. She squeezed my hand. And now we have evidence. Video proof of attempted burglary, which proves desperation, which proves ulterior motive, which destroys their credibility. Exactly. I pulled her close and kissed her forehead. You're terrifying. I'm motivated. She looked up at me. They tried to take everything from us. So we're taking everything from them. We went back inside, set the alarm again, went to bed. This time, I slept. Sunday morning, I drove to the police station and gave my formal statement, showed them the video, signed the complaint. Ethan had been released on bail at 4 a.m., but the charges were filed. Attempted burglary, criminal trespassing, property damage, all on the record, all admissible in court. At 10 a.m., Jules called. I heard about last night. News travels fast. Small town, everyone knows everything. She sounded pleased. This is perfect, Dean. Absolutely perfect. Ethan's arrest proves exactly what we've been saying. That this isn't about your health, it's about your property, and he's willing to commit crimes to get it. Will the judge allow it as evidence? It's fresh, it's relevant, and it goes directly to motive. I'd be shocked if it wasn't admitted. What about Lydia? How does this affect her? Depends. If she stands by Ethan, defends him, it makes her look complicit. If she claims ignorance, it makes her look stupid. Either way, it damages her credibility. Good. There's more, Jules said. I got the security footage from the convenience store, the one where the burner phone was purchased. My heart rate picked up. And we have a clear image of the buyer. Mid-30s, male, wearing a suit. He paid cash, left immediately. Ethan? We can't tell for sure. The image quality isn't perfect, but it looks like him. Same build, same hair. Can we enhance it? I'm having a forensic analyst look at it. If we can confirm it's Ethan, that's premeditation, that's conspiracy, that's the smoking gun. How long until we know? Tomorrow morning. First thing. Tomorrow. The day of the hearing. Jules, we need to destroy them. We will, she said quietly. I promise you, Dean. We're going to walk into that courtroom and we're going to dismantle their case piece by piece. And when we're done, Lydia and Ethan won't just lose. They'll be ruined. I want that. I know you do, and you'll have it. We hung up. I sat in my truck outside the police station and thought about Monday, about facing Lydia in court, about hearing her lie under oath, about watching her life fall apart. I should have felt bad, should have felt guilt or sadness or regret, but all I felt was cold determination. She'd chosen this path, now she'd walk it to the end. Monday morning came too fast and too slow. I was awake at 5 a.m., showered and dressed by 5:30, sitting at the kitchen table by 6. Naomi made coffee, strong, black. We didn't talk much, nothing left to say. At 7 a.m., Jules called. The forensic analyst confirmed it. The man in the convenience store footage is Ethan. 92% facial recognition match. I closed my eyes. We have him. We have them both. Ethan bought the burner phone 6 weeks ago. Used it to call the sheriff's office the night you were arrested. Premeditation, conspiracy, all of it. Does Lydia know? I don't think so. She called my office at 6:30 this morning. Asked if we could settle this privately. Said she was willing to drop the guardianship petition if you'd agree to sell the garage and split the proceeds. She's panicking. She's realizing she's going to lose, and she's trying to salvage something. Jules paused. I told her no. Told her we'll see her in court. Good. Dean, one more thing. I need you to stay calm today. No matter what Lydia says on the stand, no matter how she lies, you stay calm, you stay quiet, and you let me handle it. I'll be calm. I mean it. The judge will be watching you. Any outburst, any display of temper, and it feeds their narrative. You have to be the stable, rational, competent man we're claiming you are. I understand. See you at 8. We arrived at the courthouse at 7:45. Jules was already there, waiting on the steps, a leather briefcase in one hand and a coffee in the other. She looked like she'd been awake for hours. Ready? She asked. As I'll ever be. We went inside. The courtroom was small, wood-paneled, with high ceilings and narrow windows. The judge's bench loomed at the front. Empty chairs for witnesses, a table for each side. Lydia looked pale, tired. She'd dressed carefully. Conservative blue dress, minimal jewelry, hair pulled back. The concerned daughter. Ethan looked worse. He had a bruise on his left cheek from where he'd apparently resisted arrest Saturday night. His suit was wrinkled, his tie slightly crooked. He kept glancing at the door like he expected someone to come save him. They saw us walk in. Lydia's eyes met mine for a brief second, then slid away. Ethan just stared. We took our seats at the right table. Jules opened her briefcase and started arranging documents. I sat beside her, hands folded, trying to look calm. At exactly 9 a.m., the bailiff called, All rise. Judge Patricia Hendricks entered. Late 50s, gray hair, sharp eyes, the kind of judge who'd seen every trick in the book and wasn't impressed by any of them. Be seated, she said. Everyone sat. This is an emergency hearing regarding the petition for guardianship filed by Lydia Collins on behalf of her father, Dean Collins. Ms. Morrison, you're representing the petitioner? Lydia's lawyer stood. Yes, Your Honor, Jennifer Morrison. And Ms. Warren, you're representing Mr. Collins? Jules stood. Yes, Your Honor. Julia Warren. Very well. Ms. Morrison, present your case. Morrison stood and walked to the center of the room. Your Honor, this is a straightforward matter of an adult child seeking to protect her aging father. Mr. Collins is 68 years old and has been exhibiting signs of cognitive decline for the past 6 months. Memory loss, confusion, erratic behavior. My client has documented these incidents extensively. She pulled out a folder and handed copies to the judge and to Jules. We have statements from family members, friends, and a comprehensive psychological evaluation from Dr. Richard Brennan, a licensed clinical psychologist. Judge Hendricks flipped through the documents. Dr. Brennan examined Mr. Collins? Yes, Your Honor. He conducted a thorough evaluation and concluded that Mr. Collins is suffering from early-stage dementia and requires immediate intervention. I kept my face blank. Didn't react. Didn't flinch. Your Honor, Morrison continued, my client is deeply concerned for her father's safety. He's living alone, managing a business, handling finances. If he continues on this path, he could hurt himself or others. We're asking for temporary guardianship to ensure he receives proper care. Judge Hendricks looked at me. Mr. Collins, how do you respond to these allegations? I started to stand, but Jules put a hand on my arm. She stood instead. Your Honor, my client denies these allegations in their entirety. The claims of cognitive decline are fabricated. The psychological evaluation is suspect. And the real motive here isn't concern for Mr. Collins' health. It's greed. Morrison's face tightened. Your Honor, that's a serious accusation. It's a serious case, Jules said. Your Honor, if I may, I'd like to call the first witness. Judge Hendricks gestured. Proceed. I called Dean Collins to the stand. I stood and walked to the witness box. The bailiff swore me in. I sat down, my hands resting on the armrests, my posture straight. Jules approached. Mr. Collins, how old are you? 68. And what do you do for a living? I own and operate an automotive repair shop, Collins Garage. I've run it for 41 years. Do you live alone? No, I live with my wife, Naomi. We've been married for 42 years. And how would you describe your mental state? Sharp, clear. I manage my business, my finances, my personal affairs. I have no cognitive issues whatsoever. Jules nodded. Have you ever been examined by Dr. Richard Brennan? No, never met him. A murmur went through the courtroom. Morrison stood. Your Honor, Dr. Brennan's evaluation is based on established clinical procedures. We'll get to that, Judge Hendricks said. Continue, Ms. Warren. Mr. Collins, Jules said, can you describe what happened on the night of your arrest? I took a breath, kept my voice steady. I received a call from my daughter asking me to meet her at my house. When I arrived, there were 2 patrol cars in the driveway. Lydia told the officers I'd been acting erratic, threatening, making comments about hurting myself, all lies. And what happened next? I was arrested and taken to the county holding facility. While I was in custody, my daughter and her husband broke into my garage and stole documents they believed would help them gain control of my assets. Morrison shot to her feet. Objection. There's no evidence of theft. Your Honor, Jules said smoothly, I have security footage of the incident. Time-stamped. Clear images of the defendants entering the garage at 10:14 p.m. on the night in question. She handed a USB drive to the bailiff, who plugged it into the courtroom's display system. The screen flickered to life. There, in black and white, was Lydia and Ethan. Walking into my garage, carrying boxes out, loading them into Ethan's car. The timestamp was clear. 10:14 p.m., exactly when I was in the holding cell. Judge Hendricks leaned forward. Ms. Morrison, would you care to explain this? Morrison looked at Lydia. Lydia's face had gone white. Your Honor, Morrison said carefully, my clients were attempting to secure important documents for their father's protection. Without his permission, Jules interrupted. Without his knowledge, while he was unlawfully detained, that's theft, Your Honor, burglary, and it goes directly to motive. Your Honor, Morrison tried. I'd like to hear from the petitioner, Judge Hendricks said. Ms. Collins, please take the stand. Lydia stood slowly, walked to the witness box. She looked small, scared. The bailiff swore her in. Ms. Collins, Judge Hendricks said, did you enter your father's garage on the night of his arrest? Yes, Your Honor. Did you have his permission? Lydia hesitated. I believed I was acting in his best interests. That's not what I asked. Did you have his permission? No. Did you remove items from the garage? Yes. What items? Documents, files. We thought... She trailed off. You thought what? We thought they were important. that we needed to protect them. Judge Hendricks's expression was ice. Ms. Collins, do you own that garage? No. Does your father? Yes. Then by what right did you enter his property and remove his belongings? Lydia's eyes filled with tears. I was trying to help him. By stealing from him? It wasn't stealing. It was theft, Judge Hendricks said flatly, and this court does not look kindly on petitioners who commit crimes in the name of guardianship. Morrison stood. Your Honor, my client made a mistake in judgment, but her intentions were... Her intentions are irrelevant, Judge Hendricks said. What matters is her actions, and her actions suggest this petition is not about protecting Mr. Collins. It's about seizing his assets. Jules stepped forward. Your Honor, I have additional evidence. This is a business entity filing from 6 months ago, filed by Ethan Bennett, the petitioner's husband. It lists Mr. Collins's garage property as a projected acquisition. She handed the document to the judge. Judge Hendricks read it slowly. Her expression darkened. Mr. Bennett, stand up. Ethan stood. He looked like he wanted to disappear. Did you file this document? Judge Hendricks asked. Yes, Your Honor. 6 months before seeking guardianship of your father-in-law? Yes. And this acquisition was contingent on obtaining his property? Yes. How did you plan to obtain property that doesn't belong to you? Ethan opened his mouth, closed it, said nothing. Judge Hendricks set the document down. Ms. Warren, do you have anything else? One more piece of evidence, Your Honor. Jules held up a printout. This is security footage from a convenience store 6 weeks ago. It shows Mr. Bennett purchasing a burner phone with cash. That same phone was used to call the sheriff's office on the night of Mr. Collins's arrest, 30 minutes before the actual incident occurred. The courtroom went silent. Judge Hendricks stared at Ethan. You called ahead? Your Honor, I can explain. You orchestrated your father-in-law's arrest so you could access his property? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Mr. Bennett? Ethan said nothing. Judge Hendricks turned to Lydia. Ms. Collins, were you aware of your husband's actions? Lydia's tears were flowing now. I didn't know about the phone. But you knew about the business entity? Yes. And you knew about the plan to seize your father's property? She looked at Ethan, then at me, then back at the judge. Yes. Judge Hendricks sat back in her chair. This petition is denied. Not only denied, but I'm referring this matter to the district attorney for potential criminal charges. Fraud, conspiracy, theft, false imprisonment, all of it. Morrison looked like she'd been slapped. Your Honor. Furthermore, Judge Hendricks continued, I'm issuing a restraining order. Ms. Collins and Mr. Bennett are prohibited from contacting Mr. Collins or entering his property for a period of no less than 1 year. Any violation will result in immediate arrest. She banged her gavel. Case dismissed. The courtroom erupted. Lydia was sobbing. Ethan was pale and shaking. Morrison was gathering her papers frantically. Jules turned to me and smiled. We won. I nodded. Couldn't speak. Too much emotion bottled up. Judge Hendricks stood. Mr. Collins, a word. I approached the bench. Mr. Collins, she said quietly, I'm sorry you had to go through this, but I want you to know something. Your daughter made a choice, a bad choice, and now she has to live with the consequences. Yes, Your Honor. And Mr. Collins, that garage of yours, don't sell it, not to anyone. You built something there, something worth protecting. I won't, Your Honor, thank you. She nodded and left the courtroom. I turned and looked at Lydia. She was still in the witness box, her face buried in her hands, shoulders shaking. Ethan stood beside her, not touching her, not comforting her, just standing there like a man who'd lost everything. Naomi came up beside me and took my hand. Let's go home. We walked out of the courtroom together, out of the building, into the bright morning sunlight. People were waiting, reporters, cameras. Questions shouted from every direction. Jules stepped forward. Mr. Collins has no comment at this time, thank you. We got in my truck and drove away. The town passed by in a blur. The diner, the hardware store, the library where Naomi ran her book club. All of it normal. Unchanged, but everything had changed. We pulled into the driveway, sat there for a moment. It's over, Naomi said. Almost. What do you mean? The criminal charges, the investigation. It's not over until they're prosecuted. That could take months. I know, I looked at her, but we'll see it through, all the way. She nodded. All the way. We went inside, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table. My phone rang. Jules. "The DA wants to meet with you," she said. "Tomorrow morning. They're opening a formal investigation into Lydia and Ethan." "Good,"